Hello, my dear friends. I want to begin today with a question that has been quietly sitting on my heart. What if the life we imagined for ourselves when we were young is not the life we ended up living? And what if that is perfectly okay? By the year 2030, nearly half of all American women between the ages of 25 and 45 may remain single and without children. That statistic has made headlines. It has sparked debates. Some people feel alarmed, others feel relieved. But beyond the noise and opinion, I believe there is something much deeper happening. This is not a conversation about judgment. It is a moment to reflect, to ask ourselves with courage and compassion, what does it really mean to live a full life? For those of us who have lived many chapters, who have raised children, or perhaps never had the chance, who have been married, divorced, widowed, or none of the above, we carry with us a kind of wisdom that is rarely spoken of in these fast-moving times. And so, today, I invite you to sit with me, not just to talk about trends or studies, but to share something deeper, perspective, the kind that only comes with time, the kind that reminds us we are not behind. We are simply living differently. So let us begin. Let us talk about what is changing, why it matters, and what it means for women. Wise women with big hearts and full histories, who are still growing, still learning, still becoming. 1. Why so many women are staying single. Now that we have opened our hearts, let's take a closer look at the world around us. Back in the year 2019, the financial firm Morgan Stanley published a study that turned quite a few heads. According to their research, by the year 2030, about 45% of women between the ages of 25 and 45 would be single and without children. That number is not a guess. It is based on employment trends, birth rates, marriage statistics, and more. Now, for those of us who grew up in the 1950s, 60s, or even 70s, that idea might feel almost unthinkable. Many of us were taught that a woman's life path should follow a certain order: school, marriage, children, and then maybe work if there was time. That was the blueprint. But today's generation of women is stepping away from that script, some by choice, others by circumstance. So, what changed? Women now have more education and career options than ever before. They are getting married later, if at all. Many are choosing not to have children, not because they dislike them, but because they do not feel the same pressure to become mothers in order to feel fulfilled. Of course, not all of these changes are easy. Some women are thriving in their independence, while others are quietly longing for connection. And for many, it is a complicated mix of both. What matters most is this: we are living through a cultural shift, a change not just in behavior, but in values. And here is something important to remember. Whether you agree with these changes or not, your experience, your voice, still matters deeply in this conversation. So let us continue, not to argue with the younger generation, but to understand what is really happening underneath the headlines. 2. Personal stories and emotional truths. Let us take a quiet moment together. A pause from the noise of headlines and the rush of opinions. A moment to listen, to each other, and to the deeper parts of ourselves that have been whispering truths for years. You see, there are parts of womanhood that are rarely spoken of, not because they are not important, but because they live in silence. They live in the small private corners of our hearts. And today, I would like to give those parts a voice. Let me tell you about Alice. She is 72 now. She never married, never had children. Some would say she missed out. But when I spoke with her, I saw no emptiness, only richness. Alice was a school librarian for nearly 4 decades. Every year, she mentored dozens of children, many from homes where no one read to them at night. She made time for her neighbors. She cared for her aging parents. She tended her garden with devotion. When I asked her if she ever felt she had missed out on a traditional family, she smiled gently and said, "My life is quiet, but I have loved, and I have been useful. That is a full life in my book." Then there is Judith. Judith did marry. She had 3 children. She stayed home in her early years and later returned to teaching. Her husband passed away 10 years ago. The kids are grown and live far away. She told me, "Sometimes I go an entire weekend without the phone ringing. I walk into my kitchen and everything is exactly where I left it. There is peace, yes, but there is also a hollow kind of silence." Judith said she often wonders what her life would have looked like if she had waited longer to marry, or not married at all. "I do not regret it," she told me, "but I think the young women today have more room to breathe. I admire that." And then there is Carol. Twice married, once divorced, once widowed. She lives in a small but vibrant senior living community in Florida. She paints. She organizes book clubs. She helps others who are grieving. She told me, "I used to think being alone meant I had failed at love, but now I realize love is not always one man, one house, one story. Sometimes, love is what we give to the world. It is the softness we carry, the steadiness." I am in love with my own life now. It took me a while to say that out loud. You see, these women are not statistics. They are storytellers. They are survivors. They are the threads in a tapestry that is far more colorful and complex than any study or survey can ever capture. And maybe you see part of yourself in them. Maybe you are Alice, quietly content in a life lived on your terms. Maybe you are Judith, proud but aching for deeper connection. Or maybe you are Carol, redefining yourself, even now with courage and grace. Wherever you are in your story, I want you to hear this. You have not been left behind, Yaman. You have not aged out of purpose. You are not invisible. In fact, you carry something that the world desperately needs: perspective, resilience, compassion forged by time. And if you have never told your story, if you have tucked it away like a keepsake no one asked about, this is your invitation. Share it, not just for others, for you, because every moment you have lived, every heartbreak, every decision, every joy and disappointment, it all matters. We are not here to decide which path is better: a life with children or a life without, a long marriage or no marriage at all. We are here to honor that womanhood has never been one size fits all. And we are here to remind each other that there is beauty in a life that is still unfolding, even now. So I ask you, what have you carried that no one saw? What choice shaped you, even when others could not understand it? What part of your journey still brings tears to your eyes, whether from joy or longing? You are not alone with those questions. You are not strange or behind or forgotten. You are a woman in the fullness of her story. And that story is still being written. 3. Cultural shifts and social reality. We have talked about the women, their stories, their quiet truths. Now, let us take a wider look at the world they are living in, and the world we are living in too. Because whether we like it or not, things have changed, and not just on the surface. Marriage, as we once knew it, is no longer the foundation it used to be for every woman. In fact, according to national data, the age of first marriage is now closer to 30 than 20. Many women are not marrying at all. Others are choosing to cohabit or simply stay single. Some do this by choice, others by circumstance. But either way, the landscape has shifted. Childbirth is happening later too. Some women are having children in their late 30s or even 40s, and others are not having them at all. Again, not always out of rejection of motherhood, but out of rethinking what motherhood means and whether it is essential to a meaningful life. Meanwhile, the way we form relationships has transformed. Courtship, once filled with handwritten letters and family introductions, has become digital. People meet through screens. Communication is instant, but often shallow. It is harder, not easier, to find genuine connection in a world that moves at the speed of scrolling. And yet, women have gained a kind of power our mothers and grandmothers could barely imagine. More women today own businesses, lead teams, travel alone, make major life decisions without asking for permission. That is something to be proud of. But that power has also come with a cost. Many younger women speak of feeling exhausted, stretched thin, expected to be everything: the provider, the nurturer, the independent soul, the loving partner. And when marriage or motherhood does not happen, some feel judged. Others feel free. Many feel both. This is the paradox of our time. We are freer than ever, and still searching more than ever. And as women who have seen the world change in slow, dramatic turns, from rotary phones to smart devices, from handwritten letters to video calls, we know this. Freedom means little without understanding. Progress means little without peace. So the question becomes, how do we guide the next generation without judgment, but also without losing ourselves in nostalgia? We do not need to go back, but we do need to remember. We need to remember what held us together: faith, family, friendship, community, and then find new ways to carry those same values into this very different world. Maybe you are watching this and thinking, but I miss the way things used to be. That is okay. Missing something does not mean you are stuck in the past. It means you care. It means you remember when things felt more certain, more personal, more connected. And if you are wondering where you fit in this fast-paced, constantly changing world, let me tell you, you are needed. Your presence matters. Your memory matters. Your voice matters. Because while culture shifts and societies evolve, the wisdom of a woman who has lived through both joy and sorrow, who has known love and loss, struggle and survival, that kind of wisdom does not fade. It guides. It grounds. It heals. 4. The quiet truths no one talks about. Let us pause here, just for a moment, not to explain or to analyze, but simply to feel. Because beyond the data and the headlines, beyond the stories and even the strength, we know there are truths many women carry quietly. Truths that are rarely spoken out loud, yet deeply familiar to anyone who has lived long enough to understand the ache beneath the silence. No one really talks about how it feels to come home to an empty house, not because it is tragic, but because it is quietly heavy. No one talks about the rituals that used to mean something more, like cooking a full meal, now simplified to toast and tea, or holidays that used to bring joy, but now carry a strange mixture of memory and longing. Some women raised children who grew up and moved away. Others never had the chance. Some built families and then lost them through distance, disagreement, or death. And some chose a path of independence that now, at times, feels lonelier than they expected. There is also the loneliness of feeling unseen. You can be surrounded by people, at church, in the grocery store, even in your own family, and still feel invisible. You can be proud of your choices, proud of your survival, and still feel like something sacred went unsaid, unnoticed, unshared. Maybe you remember the younger version of yourself, the woman who once thought love would look a certain way, who dreamed of being needed, held, chosen. And maybe you wonder if it was foolish or beautiful or both. If you have ever asked yourself, did I miss something? Did I do it right? Would I be remembered if I were not here tomorrow? You are not alone. These questions do not mean you are weak. They mean you are human. They mean your heart still beats for meaning. What you may not realize is this: your story matters not because it was perfect or traditional. It matters because it was yours, because you lived it with honesty, because you kept showing up, even when no one saw. Maybe no one ever told you this before, but I will. You have done beautifully. You have lived through things no one will ever fully understand. You have given love, held grief, started over, and kept going. And that, dear sister, is something to be deeply proud of. So if you feel tired, or tender, or unsure where you fit in a world that feels younger and louder by the day, breathe. There is still time. There is still beauty. And there is still room for your voice, your wisdom, and your joy. You are not forgotten. You are not done. You are not too late. You are still becoming. 5. What this means for older women. So what does all of this truly mean for older women navigating this modern landscape? The world has shifted. Expectations have changed. Roles that once felt certain are now being redefined, or in some cases, quietly dismantled. And while younger generations may be charting new paths, the presence, insight, and quiet strength of older women remain as vital as ever. This stage of life, often misunderstood or ignored by the broader culture, is not an afterthought. It is a chapter full of its own purpose and power. And yet, many women reaching their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond are left wondering where they now belong. For decades, many poured themselves into others, into raising families, supporting partners, serving communities, or building careers within a society that did not always recognize their worth. Sacrifices were made, dreams postponed, emotions tucked away. Often praised for resilience, yet rarely asked about fulfillment. But now, with more time, perspective, and freedom, a question quietly rises. What happens next? Not in terms of survival, but in terms of meaning. There is a quiet myth in modern culture, the one that says aging equals fading. That the older a woman becomes, the less relevant she is. But this is not only false, it is deeply harmful. Because what the world needs most right now is wisdom, steadiness, a sense of what truly matters. And these are things that only time and experience can provide. At this point in life, a woman has seen joy and disappointment. She has known what it means to carry burdens without applause. She has learned, often the hard way, how to let go of things that no longer serve her. And within that experience lies a rare kind of beauty, one that cannot be bottled or broadcast, but that radiates quietly in how she listens, how she walks into a room, how she holds space for others. This is not a time of retreat. It is a time of reclamation. It is a time to ask, what have I set aside that still matters to me? What voice inside me has grown quiet, but not silent? What part of me is still waiting to be seen, not by others, but by myself? This is not about making up for lost time. It is about honoring the time that remains. Whether that means starting something new, mentoring someone younger, deepening friendships, learning a craft, exploring spirituality, or simply slowing down to enjoy what once felt rushed, this season holds possibility. Older women can be anchors in a restless world. They can speak not from opinion, but from perspective. They can offer comfort without trying to fix. They can lead not by demanding attention, but by being deeply present. And perhaps most powerfully, they can give younger women something no textbook or trend ever could. The truth that a meaningful life does not have to look like anyone else's. That it is never too late to be whole. Never too late to feel joy. Never too late to rewrite the ending. The world may not always reflect this back. Mainstream culture tends to celebrate youth, speed, and surface. But beneath that noise, there is a quiet revolution happening. more women choosing to age on their own terms, more choosing honesty over performance, depth over distraction. This moment is not a decline. It is a return to self, to truth, to what really matters. So if the question is, what now? Then the answer is simple and sacred. Now is the time to become. Not someone new, but more fully, finally, beautifully, yourself. 6. Actions and hope. As we arrive at the closing of this reflection, the natural question becomes, what now? After hearing the stories, the statistics, the quiet truths and deeper meanings, what is left to do, to feel, to become? The answer may not come in the form of a grand transformation. It rarely does. More often, the answers we need most are soft and steady. They come like a whisper, not a roar. So perhaps the invitation now is not to change, but to return. Return to the parts of yourself that have waited patiently. Return to the dreams you once placed on a high shelf. Return to the voice inside you that knows, without fanfare or validation, what matters most. That voice is still there. It always has been. This next chapter of life is not about becoming something different. It is about becoming more fully yourself. And that begins with presence. What does it mean to be truly present? It means showing up for your own life, day by day, moment by moment, not just as a caretaker, or a mother, or a wife, or a friend, but as a whole human being, one who deserves joy, connection, peace, and respect. Presence can look like making a phone call to someone you miss, or sitting with a friend in silence, not needing to fill the air. It can look like trying something new, not to prove anything, but simply because you are curious. It can look like saying no to what drains you, and yes to what makes you feel alive. Presence can also mean honoring your body as it is today, not chasing youth, but embracing grace. Letting go of the pressure to look a certain way or perform, or apologize for your age. There is power in presence, and power too in permission. So here are a few gentle invitations, paths you might explore, not because you should, but because you can. Reach out to someone younger. Offer a listening ear, not advice. Share your story, not as a lecture, but as a bridge. Gather a few women in your community, over tea or a walk or a quiet afternoon in the garden, not to fix anything, just to be together. Take time to ask yourself, what have I postponed that still matters to me? And then, with kindness, take one small step toward it. If there is pain in your past, grief, regret, wounds you never fully named, consider writing it down, not for publication, for release. Find moments to celebrate what is good, a warm cup of coffee, the way sunlight touches the floor, a song that brings back a forgotten memory. These are not small things. They are sacred. And finally, share your truth. Not because you owe it to anyone, but because your voice carries healing. Speak to the younger women in your life, if you have them, or speak through your actions, your presence, your being. Let them know that life does not end when the children are grown, or the marriage is over, or the career slows down. Let them know that womanhood is not confined to youth. That strength does not always roar. That love comes in many forms, and that solitude can be holy. If you are watching this video and feeling seen, please do not leave without sharing something. In the comments below, I invite you to answer this. What do you wish someone had told you when you were 25? And what do you hope the next generation of women will remember from your story? Because your life is a living letter, and someone out there is waiting to read it. Before we close, let me say this. You are not invisible. You are not past your prime. You are not forgotten. In fact, you may be standing on the most sacred ground of all, the ground of a woman who knows who she is and no longer asks for permission to be. Thank you for sitting with me, for being part of this conversation, for bringing your heart into the space between my words. If this message resonated with you, please subscribe to this channel. It is not just about numbers. It is about building a quiet, strong, wise community of women who are still becoming. Together. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, be bold in your kindness, and never, ever forget, you still matter. You always have,